Phantom Tollbooth is the hardest book I've probably read. I didn't know 45 books would have a mind like this. This is what 45 books look like in a mind. I'm like, wow. Man, there's emotional rides, there's anger, there's happiness, there's sadness, anger, and then a happiness, and then more sad. And then did I say anger? There's a lot of anger. Did I say there's a lot of anger? When you start learning how to read, there's a whole bunch of anger. Remember that one. Mark that. Anger is whoa. But anger becomes your friend with the reading journey. You start to realize anger was not controlled ever. It was always just on autopilot. When you start learning how to read, you start to realize you can control your anger. And that's like, ugh, it's scary, because you're like, I can control like what I'm about to do to you? Damn. Now I have to think more. That's wild. I never thought about that. Like, yeah, because you couldn't read. But off topic, we're back on. We're finishing up the Phantom Tollbooth. And we're on about book 44 or 45. I don't know exactly the number, but I think it's 44. Let's go. As the pleasant countryside flashed by and the wind whistled a tune on the windshield, it suddenly occurred to Milo that he must have been gone for several weeks. I do hope that no one's been worried, he thought, urging the car on faster. I've never been away this long before. The late afternoon sun had turned now from a vivid yellow to a warm, lazy orange, and it seemed almost as tired as he was. The road raced ahead in a series of gentle curves that began to look familiar, and off in the distance, the solitary toll booth appeared a welcome sight indeed. In a few minutes, he reached the end of his journey, deposited his coins, and drove through, and almost before realizing it, he was sitting in the middle of his own room again. It's only 6 o'clock, he observed with a yawn, and then in a moment he made an even more interesting discovery. And it's still today. I've been gone for only an hour, he cried in amazement, for he'd certainly never realized how much he could do in so short a time. Milo was much too tired to talk and almost too tired for dinner, so without a murmur he went off to bed as soon as he could. He pulled the covers all around him, took a last look at his room, which somehow seemed very different than he remembered, and then drifted into a deep and welcome sleep. School went very quickly the next day, but not quickly enough, for Milo's head was full of plans and his eyes could see nothing but the toll booth and what lay beyond. He waited impatiently for the end of class, and when the time finally came, his feet raced his thoughts all the way back to the house. Another trip, I'll leave right away. They'll all be so glad to see me, and he stopped abruptly at the door of his room, for where the toll booth had been just the night before, there was now nothing at all. He searched frantically throughout the apartment, but it had vanished just as mysteriously as it had came, and in its place was another bright blue envelope, which was addressed simply for Milo, who now knows the way. He opened it quickly and read, for Milo, who now knows the way. He opened it quickly and read, Dear Milo, you have now completed your trip, courtesy of the Phantom Tollbooth. We trust that everything has been satisfactory and hope you understand why we had to come and collect it. You see, there are so many other boys and girls waiting to use it too. It's true that there are many lands you've still to visit, some of which are not even on the map, and wonderful things to see that no one has yet imagined. but we're quite sure that if you really want to, you'll find a way to reach them all by yourself. Yours truly. The signature was blurred and couldn't be read. Milo walked sadly to the window and squeezed himself into one corner of the large armchair. He felt very lonely and desolate. Desolate. I don't know the word. desolate. Oh, okay. So when I was learning in the reading class, they said that there's syllables, so you have to rhyme it in the syllables. So there's desolate. Oh, desolate. Okay, desolate. As his thoughts turned far away to the foolish, lovable bug, the comforting assurance of Tok standing next to him, to the erratic, acceptable dine, to the little lek who helped would someday reach the ground, to rhyme and reason without whom wisdom withered, and to the many, many others he would remember always. And yet, even as he thought of all these things, he noticed somehow that the sky was a lovely shade of blue, and that one cloud had the shape of a sailing ship. The tips of the trees held pale young buds, and the leaves were a rich deep green. Outside the window there was so much to see and hear and touch. Walk to take hills to climb, caterpillars to watch as they trod through the garden. There were voices to hear and conversations to listen to. And wonder and the special smell of each day.